up, guys? Welcome to the channel. Today we will scan through the entire Premier League looking for the best possible options, and we will do that by using the COMUNIO stats, of course, which are built by the SofaScore rating, and we will combine those numbers with the XG, XA, and XT stats from understat.com. The link is in the description down below. And with all of those numbers, we can make a projection of all Premier League players by using the xGmunio formula. The link for the formula is also in the description box down below. You can also use the formula to make your own projections and comparisons for the upcoming season. So if you want, you can try it out yourself after watching the video. And in this video, I'll show you how the formula works and how you can use it while building your team during the season.
Why don't you walk me through the board?
Let's start right away. On top, we have Erling Haaland, a candidate for plus 300 points if he's healthy, of course. He never had an injury-free season in his young career, and last season he underperformed about 4 goals, which is very unusual for Erling Haaland, because in all the years before he always overperformed, and that's what makes Erling Haaland obviously a special player. He makes more goals than expected, and last season he made 223 points while underperforming and also missing 7 games. Therefore, you can definitely expect him to reach 300 points if he plays plus 35 games. He had over 250 points in his first Premier League season, and he also missed a couple of games. So 300 is definitely possible for him. And therefore, I would value Erling Haaland in this COMUNIO league with 15 million, or that's the maximum that I would pay for him, simply because there are lots of more options in the Premier League who can get 250 points, and you only have to pay around 10 million. So if you check out the Bundesliga with Harry Kane, for example, who is valued much higher, around 22 million, sometimes 25 million, his market value goes up and down during the summer. But the same goes basically for Jude Bellingham in La Liga or Mbappe for over 30 million. He also reached a market value of 50 million, which I wouldn't recommend for 50 or 40 million, but for 30 million in La Liga, I would definitely buy Mbappe. And the reason is very simple. You have to pay much more, but you can actually pay more for those players in those leagues because there aren't too many other options that are able to perform in that point range to a reasonable price. Yeah, so in Bundesliga and in La Liga, the top players are maybe only a handful. So in the Bundesliga, you have maybe 2 or 3 players that can perform in that same point range as Harry Kane. And in La Liga, it's basically similar. There aren't too many other options that can perform in the range of Mbappe or Bellingham, for example. There are a little bit more players than in the Bundesliga, but the Premier League is stacked in terms of top players that can perform over 250 points. Therefore, you have more options when it comes to buying, so to speak, cheat code player, which is a player you can buy and you can definitely get your 250 points, plus minus 20. It depends on the season, of course, but there are more players, a lot more players in the Premier League of that kind of caliber than in the Bundesliga or La Liga or Serie A, for example. And yeah, because of this, there is no reason to go all in on Erling Haaland and pay more than 15 million when you can save 2, 3, or even 5 million for a player who can also make as many points as Erling Haaland. If we go through the league, for example, there would be Kevin De Bruyne, our first player on the list. He's able to score points even if he doesn't score goals or assists. Same thing goes for Saka. Heung-min Son is also a good option because he can also score in Haaland's range. He did that last season, but let me show you a few examples or player comparisons why there are even better options than Heung-min Son. At first, we have Jackson from Chelsea for only 4.3 million. He scored 149 points last season while underperforming with almost 6 goals. So he could have made almost 6 goals more. And if he plays to his expected goals next season, he will definitely perform a lot better and make a lot more points. Expected assists are right on target, and therefore our formula calculates or predicts that we will get around 177 points this upcoming season from Jackson. So about 5 points per game, and that boils down to only 24,000 in costs per point. You see the blue column here is a very important information about the player and how much we have to pay actually for every point. It values the player and all the players in the entire league, where you can really actually take this and use it and compare all the players in the league with the position they have, and of course also with the price. And yeah, that's almost 20,000 less than Heung-min Son. As you can see here on the other side, he overperformed last season, and therefore our formula expects him to score a bit less points than he did last season. Still good, as I mentioned, but not as good as Jackson, for example. At least if you factor in the cost per point stat. And yeah, the next player on the list would be Bernardo Silva, and Isak from Newcastle. And then I would pass up on Cole Palmer, even though he had a magnificent season for 8.5, as you can see here. And even for 10 million, he would be a great deal, but his market value went up to 12.6 million. And therefore, he is just like Son, a good option. But there are, like I mentioned before, better options currently. And another midfielder, for example, would be Martinelli in this case from Arsenal for around 7 million. He is also not very dependent on scoring goals in order to receive a good SofaScore rating. And Cole Palmer actually is. But like I said, keep in mind, he overperformed around 4 goals last season. And who knows, he could also underperform 4 goals this upcoming season. So we saw it this season, even in Erling Haaland is able to underperform. And Cole Palmer is also a player where you could expect that he's underperforming. And I also think you should take into consideration that the opponents, the teams, will defend him a bit harder, I can imagine. So you should take all of this that he could underperform and he could also be defended a little bit harder. There's more scouting towards him. The teams can adjust to his play, and this next season won't be as easy for Cole Palmer as the last season. So I would advise you to also take this into consideration when buying a Cole Palmer, and especially if you buy him for 12.6 million. I think if you started the season early and you had the chance to buy Cole Palmer for 8.5 or for 10 million, then like I said, you definitely made a good deal. But after 12 million, I would say that it's not a bad deal, but there are a lot more or better deals out there where you can save money and where you have a little bit more insurance, yeah, or more security that you actually can get those points. And yeah, then we have Trent Alexander-Arnold. He's also the slightly better choice over Virgil van Dijk. If you look at the numbers, it's a close call, of course, and both of them are a good choice, and you should trust your gut with those close decisions always, I think, and really only use this formula as a tool. And basically, that's what we're going to do, or that's what we're doing in every league with every player. With this method, we analyze the entire player pool of the Premier League, in this case, and create a list of players that we prefer to buy during the off season. Yeah, that's how we prepare during the off season. And if you would also like to become a manager and create your own team, you can join one of our XGM leagues for free. And if you win the championship in one of our XGM leagues, you will get a free pro player season for the upcoming Champions League, where you can play for a prize pool of 1,000 euros. The link to all of the XGM leagues is in the description below. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions about using the formula, let me know in the comments. And thanks for watching, and see you next time.
What's this?
This is the code that I've written for our year-to-year projections. This is building in all the intelligence that we have to project players.
Okay.
It's about getting things down to one number. Using the stats the way we read them, we'll find value in players that nobody else can see. People are overlooked for a variety of biased reasons and perceived flaws. Age, appearance, personality. Bill James and mathematics cut straight through that. Billy, of the 20,000 notable players for us to consider, I believe that there is a championship team of 25 people that we can afford, because everyone else in baseball undervalues them. Like an island of misfit toys. Billy, this is Chad Bradford. He's a relief pitcher. He's one of the most undervalued players in baseball. His defect is that he throws funny. Nobody in the big leagues cares about him because he looks funny. This guy could be not just the best pitcher in our bullpen, but one of the most effective relief pitchers in all of baseball. This guy should cost $3 million a year. We can get him for $237,000.